Hello ladies, gentlemen, patrons of my channel, welcome to Let's Play Chibi Robo Part 62. Last video, I was explaining the plot to the Red Velvet Cake Wars, a play that my rival high school did, which was actually pretty friggin' amazing, and I want you to know. And, I was talking about the plot, and so, where was I in the plot, actually? Anyway, the plot. Where was I? There was a plot that I talked about. Okay, so they like try to get to the they try and get the family reunion started again because it's been canceled, and she's Janelle's like, oh no, this shit's gonna happen, and so anyway, because she rammed her car into her boyfriend's house, there's this this Russian, like psycho, what's the word I'm looking for? Analyzing her mental safety or her sanity, and she is kind of the indirect antagonist because, well, she's more just there for comic relief because some of the things she says, does, and how characters interact with her are pretty damn funny. But she's like, hey, I'm supposed to be watching you because you are crazy, and it's just amazing. And then there's an annoying neighbor, which the unibrow redneck, real redneck girl, I forget her name, and it's a shame. I said that in the last video, but she has a crush on the across the street neighbor, which the annoying neighbor character is like madly in love with and steals shoes from and steals his dog from and stuff of that nature. That kind of in love with her. And there's another pie pan. Until the end of this Let's Play, I'm gonna call those pie pans because I should have been calling those pie pans anyway. But anyway, where was I? Madly in love with the neighbor. But this annoying neighbor, she's just like, knockety knock knock, and comes in, and she's like, hey, I'm a boss. You can take it. Go deal with it somewhere else. And she just barges in the house at the most unexpected times, and it's just hilarious. And anyway, they're like, well, how the hell are we gonna make this red velvet cake? Because she's made 12 cakes, and then she's like, lucky number 13, and she goes in and it's burnt and it sucks, and she's like, I cannot find any more red velvet cake. And happy point bonus is just what I'm looking for. She cannot find any more red explaining stuff. What did I just say? No, she can't find any red food coloring. So there's also this character that's a wig delivery man for the for Peaches, and he falls in love with Janelle because he's seen her on TV, and she's a big star, I guess. But he only has one eye, and that's kind of the joke because one eye knew, you know, ha 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 ha. But it's funny because he's supposed to have a false eye, and that always falls out, and that's kind of another joke. And it's just a bunch of funny humor, and so like in a scene, he thinks that Audrey sleeping on the couch is Janelle, and he's like giving the sentimental speech, and he's like, oh man, well gee Janelle, I have feelings for you. And it turns out it's Audrey, and he's like, well, what the hell are you doing here? And he's like, here, let me give you some advice to get that Janelle babe of yours. And he's like, go get some red food coloring. And he's like, yes sorry Bob. And then so they go and do that. And then so the girls, while trying to make the best red velvet cake they can possibly muster, they find out that there's like a recipe that's in a time capsule in the mayor's backyard. And so they, well, not the mayor's backyard, but like town hall backyard area, and they're like, let's dig that poop up. And so they do, and it's hilarious because then the neighbor lady walks in, and it's just like, all these people doing things, and it's just like, oh, well, this is super secret stuff. We could go to jail for this, and then they actually do. And I'm not sure, but in the scene where they get arrested, the play that I watched, the other high school at Washington, there was the cop that was like the obvious cop, and then there was this guy following him, and I had no idea what was that about. I should have asked them about that, and it was really weird, and it kind of tore the illusion for me, and I was just like, what? And he wasn't wearing cop clothing, he was just wearing a black t-shirt. I was like, could you please explain who this is? At least give him a gun. And that was the only thing I can complain about their spectacular performance. Maybe he was like, the cop had a bolo tie. Maybe the cop forgot his bolo tie. He's like, wait, don't forget your bolo tie, and he accidentally went out on stage with him. That would have been pretty funny. But anyway, the walls were pink, and it was amazing. And, where was I in the plot? Oh yeah, they go to jail. End of Act 1. And then, at the start of Act 2, they get the recipe, and they're like, well, that recipe sucked, because they make the cake. Well, they make the cake, and they're like, we can't taste this, because this is the last cake, and there's no more food coloring, and you know, all of that good jazz. And so, they have a cake. Lamurl's cake is like in the living room. They're trying to break into it, but it has a lock on it because Lamurl's pretty smart. And she's like, I'm pretty sure my rootin' tootin' little cousins, or my rootin' tootin' little, she's the aunt, so nieces? My little nieces are probably gonna break into that stuff, so I should probably lock it. She's pretty smart, but she's also a turd, and I don't know. But she figures out that, and they're like trying to open it so they can vandalize it and make it horrible and make them win, so they don't lose so Janelle doesn't lose her house. And so the whole time this is going on, the crazy Russian lady is like inspecting them and being like, inspection stuff. You seem pretty crazy, Janelle. Are you sure that you are mentally sane? And just kind of that kind of stuff. And so her to get rid of her, in like the end of Act 2, well, they don't really get rid of her. She just becomes more of a comic relief character than she already was. Janelle kisses Newt, and he's like acting all sweet, and she's like, hey Newt, how about you seduce that Russian lady? And so in an effort to please his woman, he does, and then she falls in love with Newt, and they end up having a beautiful romance together. But that is more of a side plot, which is kind of funny. But Peaches actually wants to get with Newt because she is old and hasn't gotten laid in a very long time, and she's very horny. And I can't believe I just said that. But yeah. And so there's lots of women interested in Newt, and Newt is interested in lots of women. And it's just very funny and very hilarious, and it's amazing play. And then Act 3 starts, the beginning of the actual, or I'm not sure about this, but maybe, am I sure? Actual, like halfway through Act 2, actual family reunion starts. I'm pretty sure of that, but actual family reunion starts. There's a lot of jokes about yelling across the street. Actually, that's like 5 of the 17 scenes, I think. I'm not sure about these numbers. I'm just a person who wasn't even in this play. I watched it, and I'm explaining in vivid detail to you. Let's go to sleep. I will be back.